Yo, it's 6:48 a.m. right now. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. every single day for the past, I believe, like 3 months, like 100 days, like 100+ days. I've been waking up at 5 a.m. every single day. And what I've been doing now is I'll wake up, I'll do my 100 push-ups every single time. Bro, I cannot, literally every single time. Even this morning I woke up, my body's telling me to go to sleep. It never gets easier. It truly never gets easier. It's always the same. It's always uncomfortable. I always want more sleep, no matter what time I went to sleep. But the thing is, I get better. Hold on, let me just take off my jacket. But I woke up today at 5. I did my 100 push-ups. And today I actually broke up my push-ups in 2 sets. I did 40 and then 60. Usually I break it up by 3 and I do 35, 35, 30. But I was like, fuck it, I might as well do 60 because I was just doing it until failure. And then, sometimes I'll take a cold shower, but, today I didn't do it. But most of the time I do take a cold shower after I do my 100 push-ups. It honestly depends if I took a shower the night before. If I didn't take a shower the night before, I'll be like, all right, I'll just save my shower for the morning and take the cold shower in the morning. But I took a shower last night. But boom, it is what it is. But what I realized is now I'll do my 100 push-ups and then I'll just start reading the Bible and I'll start praying immediately. Because when I start my day off that way, when I start off my day with that foundation of me connecting with God, and then I read his word and I see what he's trying to tell me and I see the lessons that he wants us to learn and the things he wants us to do. That is truly the best way to start off my day. That is the best way to start off the right foundation for my day. How many guys do you see out there, they start off their day, they wake up at 10 a.m., they pick up their phone, they lay in bed, they sleep in. It's like, dog, your start is so important. You need to set the tone for the rest of the day. And when I set the tone of me humbling myself and me telling God, thank you for everything that you've given me. I'm nothing without you, because that is the honest truth. I'm nothing without God. And then I start off my day. I read the Bible. And honestly, it's just the things that God is telling us in the Bible. It's one of the most beautiful things. It is the most beautiful thing that I've ever read, whatever. But you guys know what I'm trying to say. And, I was reading Genesis yesterday. And it was an absolutely beautiful story. And it's a story that I read. It was about how Joseph, right? Joseph grew up in Israel. It wasn't called Israel at that time. I believe it was called Canaan. And then he had 12 brothers. And then Joseph's 12 brothers did not like Joseph because Joseph had a lot of visions as a kid. And he had a vision that all his brothers were worshiping him and they were bowing down to him. And then he told his brothers, yo, I had this vision where you guys were not worshiping me, but you were bowing down to me. And you guys put me on a pedestal above you guys. And then they got mad. They got envious of him. They're like, look, you were not better than us, whatever. So they wanted to kill him. So they were gonna kill him, and then they realized, they're like, oh shoot, like this is our brother, like we're related to him. So instead of killing him, we're just gonna sell him to Egypt so that he could be a slave. So what they did is that they sold Joseph to Egypt as a slave, and they cut off a piece of his clothing and they put a little bit of blood on it, and they showed it to their father, and they're like, look, Joseph died, an animal ate him, the lion ate him, or whatever it was. And then Isaac, which was Joseph's dad, started crying. Oh wait, no, it was Jacob, my bad. Jacob was Joseph's dad, and then Jacob, his name was later changed to Israel. But boom, Jacob was devastated because Joseph was his favorite son. And that's another reason why the brothers envied Joseph so much, because Jacob favored Joseph so much. Boom, Joseph goes to Egypt, and then he becomes a slave of this very, wealthy man. And then he was the top slave of this man. Like, this man truly respected Joseph a lot. But what happened is that Joseph was a very handsome and respected man. So what happened is the wife of the man kept trying to sleep with Joseph. She kept trying every single day. She kept trying to sleep with Joseph every single day. But every single day, Joseph would say no. He would say, no, my master has given me so much. The one thing he has told me not told me, but the one thing that I can't have is his wife. He's giving me everything else. The one thing is his wife. So no, I'm not going to sleep with you. And the wife would kept trying every single day, every single day, no matter what. And then it got to a point where she got so frustrated and she was so angry. She's like, all right, I'm just going to fuck up Joseph's life. So what she did is that she basically accused him of trying to sleep with her. So boom, everyone believed the wife, and even the guy who was, in control of Joseph even believed the wife. So they sent Joseph to jail. Boom, Joseph was in jail. While he was in jail, he became so respected there that he became the chief of the jail. So he went from being the prisoner to being the chief of the jail. And then he was in control of the jail for many years. And then one day, these two men showed up. And then these two men worked for the Pharaoh. But they did something. I forgot what they did specifically, but they worked for the Pharaoh. And then they would have visions, right? They knew that Joseph was very good at deciphering visions, and they knew that Joseph had a lot of visions. So they asked Joseph, they're like, yo, what do these visions mean? Nobody can tell me what they mean. I don't understand what they mean. Please tell me what these visions mean. So Joseph basically told them, look, in this vision right here, basically you are going to die, which was one of the guys. One of the guys was going to die because they did something. The other one, he worked for the Pharaoh, but he said, look, you are going to go back to the Pharaoh. I forgot what it was specifically. I forgot what exactly it was specifically. But basically what happened is that he deciphered the vision for the man. And then he was like, look, at the end of this, at the end of your prison time, you're going to go back to the Pharaoh and you're going to work for him again. But Joseph told me, look, since I deciphered your vision, please don't forget me and please tell the Pharaoh about me. And then the guy was like, okay, yeah, I'll tell the Pharaoh about you, because obviously Joseph wanted to escape prison. And then boom, the guy escaped. The guy left the prison. He went back to the Pharaoh just as Joseph predicted. And then the other guy died and he passed away. So boom, the other guy's working to the Pharaoh, but he forgot about Joseph. He completely forgot about him. And then he never, oh man. And then he never told the Pharaoh about Joseph. So, hold on. Alright, bet. So what happened is that 2 years passed, and then the Pharaoh had a vision. And nobody understood the vision. It was very similar to what happened before. Nobody understood the vision. They didn't know what it meant. My bad. Nobody understood the vision. And then the guy who was in the prison, he realized, he was like, damn, Joseph knew my vision. He knew what it meant. So he told the Pharaoh, was like, look, I can get you this man named Joseph who works in the prison, and then he's going to be able to decipher your vision. And then what happened is the guy got Joseph. They put Joseph in front of the Pharaoh. They summoned him. And then Joseph basically deciphered the Pharaoh's whole entire vision. And the vision that the Pharaoh had was basically that Egypt was, this is the what Joseph deciphered, but he had a vision of 7 cows. There were 7 cows and then 7 cows behind it. The 7 cows in front were healthy, good cows, and then the 7 cows in the back were famine cows, like they were malnourished. And then the malnourished cows ate the ones that were in front of them, yet they were still malnourished and they were still anorexic. So the Pharaoh was like, bro, what does this vision mean? And then Joseph came to me, he's like, look, this vision basically means that the 7 cows basically mean that Egypt very soon is going to have 7 years of great famine. So we need to prepare for it now. And basically God gave them these visions so that they could prepare for the famine. So what did they do? They prepared for the famine. And the Pharaoh basically told Joseph, look, since you were able to decipher my vision and you are so wise, and the Pharaoh was basically he respected Joseph a lot for what he did, and he's like, look, you are second in power to everybody in Egypt. So after that day, Joseph went from being the chief guard in the prison to being literally only second to the Pharaoh in the whole entire land of Egypt. So, and then the Pharaoh appointed Joseph with, look, you need to prepare for the famine, since obviously you understand this, you are wise. And then he gave Joseph the task of preparing for the famine. And that's exactly what Joseph did. He prepared for the famine. He stockpiled on all these crops. He stockpiled on all the animals, and they had an abundance. Because they were preparing for 7 years of famine. Like, imagine how much food you need for 7 years of famine. And that's exactly what they did. And guess what? The famine hit the whole entire world. Everyone in the world they were all in famine. They didn't have food. So what did they do? Everyone in the world came to Egypt, because Egypt is where all the food was at. And then Egypt started selling the food, and the food, it made Egypt very rich and very wealthy, because they were the only country in the whole entire world who had this. And food at that time was the most valuable thing, because they were in the famine. And then it's so crazy, because the 10 brothers who tried killing Joseph ended up coming back to Egypt, because they're like, oh, Egypt has food, we need food, so let's go to Egypt. So they made a voyage, they go to Egypt, and then boom, Joseph sees them, but they didn't recognize Joseph, because it's been literally like 40 or 30 years, I believe. They didn't recognize Joseph at all, but Joseph recognized them. And what happened was, Joseph was asking them a bunch of questions, like, oh, where's your other brother? Because they were missing a brother. Oh, how's your father? Oh, where do you guys come from? Like, Joseph was asking them all these personal questions, and he got emotional. He literally started crying, but not in front of them. He would walk into another room and start crying there. And then the brothers just didn't recognize them. But here's the thing, the brothers would treat Joseph like royalty. They treated Joseph, because obviously he was royalty. And boom, so Joseph gave them the food that they needed, and on top of that, he gave them the money back. So he put the money that they spent on the food back into, their piles of food, and they sent them back. But he said, when you guys come back here, you need to bring your other brother, or we're not going to give you any other food. You have to come with your whole entire family. So boom, they ate all the food. It ended up running out, and they needed more food. So they ended up going back to Egypt, but this time they brought their other brother. So boom, they come back with all the brothers. And then Joseph basically told them, like, look, first of all, he was like, oh, he was super happy to see his other brother. And then he was like, look, you guys need to eat at my house tonight. We're gonna have dinner at my house. So they had dinner at Joseph's house, and Joseph was just asking them a bunch of questions. They made food for them. And, when they first entered the house, they would all bow down to Joseph. They would all treat Joseph like royalty. And this fulfilled the vision that Joseph had when he was literally just a little kid. And then they're basically just begging and pleading with Joseph for something. I forgot what it was. It was... not necessarily that they were begging and pleading him for something, but they were just treating him with a massive amount of respect. And then Joseph, it got to a point where he revealed himself, and he's like, look, guys, I'm your brother. I'm the one that you guys tried to basically kill. And then they were like, they were surprised, but they were happy though. They were happy to see him. They're happy to see how he's doing. And then I just think that the story is so beautiful, because it just shows how all those misfortunate things happened in Joseph's life, but it happened for a reason. Because if his brothers never sold him to Egypt, if the woman never accused him of rape, or not rape, but accused him of trying to get with her, and then if all those misfortunate things never happened, you would have never first of all, predicted those visions of the Pharaoh, he would have never accomplished any of those amazing things that he accomplished. So that was the result of tragedy, because sometimes we have tragic things that happen in our life, and yes, it's tragic. Nobody wants these things to happen, but God allows these things to happen for a reason, because it gives us a story to tell. It allows us to help other people. And the truth is, we don't know why God does certain things, but the way that I live my life is I just have full trust in God, and I understand that I am nothing without God. And that's exactly what Joseph did. Joseph had 100% trust in God. Didn't matter what happened, he always kept his faith. He always stayed strong. He never backed down, he never failed, and he never blamed God for why these misfortunate things were happening. He just had that unwavering faith. So now I understand that the best way that I can start my day is in the presence of the Lord. The best way I can start my day is giving thanks for everything that I have. The best way I can start my day is seeing prosperity and seeing abundance, even when reality might be going against that. You have to see abundance regardless. Even in the most deep failures, I still see winning. I still see winning. Even when everything seems to go wrong, I still see the lessons in it. Even when I feel like not doing it the most, that's when I have to do it the most. Sometimes when I'm reading the Bible and, I'm reading these certain things, I'm not engaged in it because it's not like whatever I'm reading, it's like, like for example, when God is giving the instructions on how to build the tabernacle, and it's like, 500 cubits of gold. It's like, when I'm reading that, sometimes I find myself drifting because I'm not engaged in it, right? Because it's not interesting, right? But when you do the things that aren't interesting, and when you do the things that might seem a little bit tedious at first, and you just stick through it regardless, and I keep reading regardless, after I keep reading that, boom, I find that one text where God is speaking to me, and I'm like, damn, that is something I'm going through. Damn, that is something I needed to hear. Damn, that is something that is truly very interesting. That is something that not only will help me, but it'll help me understand why these certain things happen. And it opens up my mindset. It opens up my mindset because as we're little kids, sometimes our mindset is closed. And I think that growth comes first when you open up your mindset to allow growth to come into your life. So when I didn't feel like reading those certain things and I kept reading it, boom, I finally found that one thing I had to read. And that's why it's so valuable to stick to it. I read the Bible every single day for at least an hour. That's just the time limit I give myself. But sometimes if I'm reading something and I'm very deep into it, I'll go over that, right? But I'll give myself at least an hour because I understand the first 10 or 15 minutes, I'm not going to be as engaged because when you first start doing something at first, you need to build up momentum. Even when you read, you need to build up momentum. The same way when you work out, you need to build up momentum. So when I'm reading the Bible, I'm basically building up momentum. I'm building up momentum at first. And then boom, right when my brain starts connecting the dots, connecting the pieces, and everything just comes together, that's when I start winning. That's when I start reading the right things. That's when the right things just start being apparent to me. That's when you start seeing opportunity, and opportunity just becomes abundant to you. And then I see how Joseph had unwavering faith. I see how his father Jacob also had faith in how they lived their lives. And no, they were not perfect. None of these men were perfect. Even in the Bible, it talks about all these certain things that they did wrong. But regardless of their imperfection and regardless of where they went wrong, they always redeemed themselves, and they always had faith regardless. They always repented. Because they understood that it's not about what they do occasionally, but it's about what they do most of the time. So if they follow God most of the time, that is where the value comes from. And the biggest thing I learned from picking up my Bible at 5:30 in the morning every single day is just discipline. I'm able to have discipline with reading the Bible and getting in the Word. And then that discipline translates into everything else. But I first learned that discipline, if I'm going to be honest, from the gym. I would go when I didn't feel like it. At first, I was uncomfortable. At first, I didn't know what I was doing. But then, I kept going. Regardless, I kept going. And then, boom, the momentum started building. Once the progress started seeing, and the momentum was there, it's like, dog, it's inevitable. It's inevitable to see progress. It's inevitable. And then, I would work out, right? But my relationship with God honestly wasn't there. It was tedious for me to read the Bible when I was back in the day. I didn't want to do it. I was like, I don't see the value in it. Whatever. But it's because I hadn't done it. Of course, you're not going to see the value in it if you don't do it for a long enough period of time. And now I've been doing it for a long period of time. I do it every single day. I start my day off the same. 100 push-ups, cold shower, boom. Read the Bible for an hour. And then I start my day off like that. And then I start working. And then I start making my content, posting my content, working on my clients, working on my program. And then I just translate that discipline that I have from my relationship with God. Because our relationship with God, the root of it is discipline. The root of it is discipline. You need to control yourself from the sin. And our body has inclinations to sin, right? But you need to change yourself. You need to change your human desires, your fleshly desires, so you can win and have a successful relationship with God. The same thing with having a successful physique, a successful business. It's the same principles. It's discipline. You're not always going to feel like doing it, but you do it anyways so you can show up more for others. That's the truth of it, because if you can't show up for yourself, how do you expect to show up for others? So when you show up for yourself, you're teaching yourself discipline. When I wake up early, I'm teaching myself discipline. I never feel like doing it. I never feel like doing the 100 push-ups at first, but as I do it, as I build the momentum, I notice myself gaining energy, because sacrifice on my end gives me energy. So I notice myself, damn, after that push-ups, I felt better. Damn, after that cold shower, I felt better, even though I didn't feel like doing it at first. So the more we reject how we feel, the more we reject our flesh, the better our lives are going to be. The better our lives are going to be. Because most people say, most people feel like, I can drink, do drugs, do all these things. It gives me freedom. It gives me freedom. I feel free. I can do whatever I want. But they don't realize that they are a slave to that thing. They're a slave to that alcohol. They're a slave to those drugs. I'd rather be a slave to God. I'd rather be a slave to Jesus Christ. I'd rather be a slave to winning. I'd rather be a slave to seeing abundance. I'd rather be a slave to having a winning mindset. Because we're all a slave to something. But why would you not be a slave of something that's actually valuable and rewarding? And that's just how I think. That's just my mentality. And my mentality has gotten me to the points that I'm at in life. My mentality has gotten me to where I'm at. And it's only credit to God. It's none of my doing. It's none of my credit. The only reason why I think the way I do and I act the way that I do is because of God. God, first of all, put me in this blessing. He put me in this country. My family, bro, technically, I'm supposed to be in DR right now. Like, bro, God is the only reason why I even have the opportunity to win. God is the only reason why I can even post this video right now. God is the only reason why my mindset was open to learn these certain things. It is not any of my doing. It is not anything. So for those of you who are watching this video, you're going to see my progression. You're going to see my growth. I need you to understand, nothing that I have accomplished now or that I will accomplish in the future is my doing. It is all God's doing. Because without God, I'm nothing. And that's the honest truth. Without Jesus Christ, I'm nothing. If Jesus Christ didn't die for me, I just think a lot of people take Jesus Christ dying for them for granted. They take it for granted. They really do. And it's honestly very sad to see. It's very sad to see it because, and even me personally, I'm not even gonna act like I'm perfect. We all take things for granted. We all take it for granted. But it's up to us if we're gonna break that cycle. If we're gonna break that cycle of that cycle of letting ourselves down. That is the best way to put it. Because when you don't seek God, you don't seek Jesus Christ, bro, you are letting yourself down. You are letting, not only are you letting down God because God loves you so much, but you are letting down yourself. You are letting down yourself because, bro, that is the biggest thing I realized. We need God. We need God. It's not that we want him. We need him. We're nothing without him. He gave birth to us. He created us in his image. So why do we disrespect him by not following his word? Why do we disrespect him by not reading his word? Why do we disrespect him by not giving thanks for everything he's done for us? Because that is disrespectful. That is disrespectful. It's disrespectful for us to take for granted the sacrifice that God made for us, which is to give his only son for us. So when we don't follow him, we're taking that for granted. And I don't think a lot of people realize that God wants us to win. He wants us to be abundant. He wants us to be the best people that we can be. But when you are the best person that you can be, the foundation always has to be God. Because if it's not God, then you are not the best person that you can be. You simply aren't. You simply aren't. If you're not serving God, you're serving the devil. And it doesn't matter what I accomplish or what I do. If God isn't the foundation of it, then it's pointless. There's no point in me doing it. And it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Whether you're trying to get in shape, whether you're trying to start a business, whether you're trying to, I don't know. It doesn't matter what you're doing. When you have God on your side, nothing is impossible. You can genuinely achieve whatever you want. And honestly, I'm not even making this video for the views. I don't care if this video gets 5 views, 6 views. All I care about is if it can touch the heart of at least one person that needs to hear what I'm saying in this video. And I honestly just felt called to make this video. I was reading the Bible and I had a few tasks for the day, but I'm like, I just need to make this video. I just need to. And I just took action and I did it. I didn't really think much about it. I was like, look, God has changed my life. I'm nothing without God and I need to make this video right now. So I just got up. I went to this random parking lot and I just recorded this video and I'm just going to post it after. I don't care about the views. All I care about is, can the right person see this video that needs to see it? And that's basically it. But the cornerstone of it is discipline. Discipline. Our relationship with God is built on discipline. We need to reject how we feel. You seeing progress in the gym, it's built on discipline. Like I said before, everything ties to discipline. This is why discipline is one of the cornerstones of what I do in my program, because without discipline, you have nothing. Without discipline, you have nothing. It doesn't matter. If you just do what you feel like doing all the time, you're never going to make it far in life. And if you just do what you feel like doing all the time, you know where that's going to land you? In hell. That's genuinely going to land you in hell. And I don't want you guys to go there. Neither does God want you to go there. So it starts with you having discipline. Like, our lives are so short, but eternity is it's forever. So choose wisely the choices you make now, because it genuinely affects your eternity, which is way more valuable than these short years that we spend here. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. I love all of you guys. If you want to, ask me something, or, if you have any questions or anything, either comment it down below, or you can DM me on IG. But yeah, I love you guys. Keep winning. Yeah, let's get it. Peace out.